Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the College Baseball Show, brought to you by Just Baseball Media here. It's the Wednesday night show. We switched this one from Thursdays over to Wednesdays, so you can join us live and be able to listen to this show the next morning before they come out games on Friday. I get the awesome privilege of hosting the show. I'm Mark Garland. I'm hosted with Jared Perkins joining us again. How we doing, buddy?
Hanging in there. Back to my full-time job, so it's been a time off of paternity leave, so we're rolling.
Full-time job, full-time dad, and full-time baseball. That's a lot of full times there, buddy.
I know. I don't know what I have time left for anymore.
Just 15 minutes of sleep. That's all you need. 15 minutes for sleep if you don't do your visual edge practice. We'll just say that. So getting that time in there. And then, of course, Tyler Jennings from our draft side. How we doing, Tyler?
Very tired. I got a 10-miler we're doing next weekend and did training before this. My legs are noodles. So there's likely a good chance I fall asleep in the middle of this, but we're going to try and stay up the whole time.
We're cruising, though. It is Wednesday. Zach Symm is going to be joining us also from our Texas side. He'll be joining us here in a little bit. So, yeah, this is an awesome week for me. I get 5 different hosts so far on the 2 shows. It means I get to talk baseball with all my friends this week, which is fantastic. Let's dive into some of these games, guys. Oregon State traveled up to Pullman at Washington State. They won the first one 18-0. Eric Segura looked like a stud. You know, he's a weekend rotation guy. They moved him off because of the way that they played last weekend. It was Thursday through Saturday. Moved him to that Monday role. He absolutely dominated Washington State. Next game out, there was a lot more offense for Washington State as they took that game 7-6. Is this just another midweek thing, or is this something we need to worry about Oregon State kind of dropping down to their opponents sometimes?
I don't know. I just think like the Tuesdays in Oregon aren't going great, whether you're Oregon State or Oregon at this point. So maybe just stop playing Tuesday games. I don't know.
Just play Monday or Wednesday games, I guess. Give up those Tuesday games. Stop playing them in general. I mean, I don't really think it matters a whole lot, but the fact is Oregon State does not play any weekend series against the top 100 RPI the rest of the season right now. That could hurt them if they keep dropping midweeks. They got to figure out how to win these games. I think that they got to get to 48 wins to host to be a national seed. So they got to be able to go out and close out these games. But again, it's midweek. Good for Washington State and not a great loss there for Oregon State. Oklahoma goes to DBU on Monday and wins 9-3. Tyler, that's kind of a big bounce back for Oklahoma. They feel like they need to start getting some momentum going into these midweeks and into the weekends for SEC play.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, DBU's no slouch. They never have been. It feels like for the past the entirety of the Dan Hefner era, basically in Dallas. So they've got some really good pieces. Ben Tryon is a big piece. Luke Petit, or it's Andy Pettit's son actually. So it's Luke Pettit, who, believe it or not, had elbow surgery, so he's not pitching, but apparently he's a really good first baseman / DH type for them. So they've got some power in that lineup. But to bounce back and do well against a team like that is pretty promising for them.
Yeah, just to even get some offense going. It feels like Oklahoma, like I mentioned on the Saturday show, 4.5 runs a game so far in SEC play. That's not going to cut it. They're still in the top 25, and it's been their pitching. They got to figure out some offense. I think that 9 runs has got to feel good. Cal Baptist, guys, going to at Long Beach and winning that one 10-5. Don't look now, but the Lancers are 27-6, Jared. This is a good Cal Baptist team. Some folks have put them right on the perimeter there of their rankings. Now, their RPI is way low, but this team continues to win.
Jared, you're muted.
I think you're muted, Jared.
Yep, I am. Yeah, they're 3-0 in quad ones. I mean, that's still impressive. I know their RPI is only 58. You're playing the Western Athletic Conference. You're not going to have a high RPI either. But 27-6, I mean, you have to be impressed with it. What's their non-conference record? I think it's 25-5. So playing good baseball. You have to watch for it. Cal Baptist is probably gonna still have to win the WAC in order to get in. But have to be impressed with what they're doing so far.
Yeah, I think they got Rio Grande, UT Rio Grande here coming up. A big weekend series here. This team could really show that they are able to win the WAC. Then maybe this is a team we start worrying about and saying maybe they get up to a 3 seed. I don't think so. I think whoever wins the WAC is the 1 bid league, and it's probably going to be just the 4 seed. But it's interesting to watch a team that's 27-6 and 3-0 in quad 1 games. I like that. Let's move to Tuesday games. There's a whole bunch of madness. Tuesday was madness. As you mentioned, we already talked about the Oregon State losing one of the ranked teams. Florida goes down to Florida State and takes the weekend series. Oh, Zach's joining us now. Florida goes down, takes the weekend series from Florida, or the weekday series from Florida State. Tyler, I can't figure Florida out. It seems like this year they're winning midweeks. I don't know what's going on.
It feels atypical for a Kevin O'Sullivan club to be winning midweeks, considering the past couple of years. But no, this is like the 8th time, I believe, during the Soli era where they've actually swept the FSU weekday series, which is something I wasn't expecting, considering how good Florida State has been year in, year out for the past few years, going from Mike Martin to Mike Martin Jr. and then obviously Link Jarrett. But they got some pretty good pitching. Cooper Walls had struck out 5 across 3 1/3, only allowed 1 run. Obviously, Josh right now are coming in. He's going to take up a bulk of the closing duties with Jackson Barberi out with an oblique for the next couple of weeks. And obviously, he throws 100 with a hammer slider. So, the talent level in that Florida bullpen is crazy. If you're Florida State, I'd say you take away from that your 1 through 4 guys are doing pretty well. Hunter Carnes is looking a lot better the past couple of weeks.
Stepped up.
Had a 2-hit performance. Braden Dowd was 2 for 5. Noah Sheffield, who, again, Gary's son, so we're getting some more bloodlines here, 2 for 5 as well. And they're getting some mix-ups with the bottom of the order. Eli Putnam, Cal Fisher haven't really been performing too well, but John Stutzer was able to get a hit on Tuesday to kind of help them out. But, a little too late. I know they scored 2 in the 8th off a Hunter Carnes home run. But just couldn't get the job done, unfortunately. But Florida State's got a big matchup this weekend. Georgia Tech going up to Atlanta. I know Monty's going to be down there and having a boatload of fun on that one, so I'm kind of jealous a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into those series that are happening this weekend. That one starts on Thursday, and we'll talk about that when we get to the weekend series. There are so many good weekend series. I am very excited for this weekend slate of games. It's going to be a lot of show me and a lot of prove me, because there's going to be so many teams that are sitting here going, how do we get into the top 8 seeds? How do we get to the top 16? And where do we look the rest of the season? How do we look for conference play? There's so much of that going on this weekend. Talking about a team that kind of has been dominating their regular season play, the Sun Belt. Coastal beats Wake Forest. Jared, 2-1, not much on the way of offense, but this Wake Forest team lost again offensively, and Coastal just finds another way to win.
Yeah, I mean, Will and I talked about this when we were doing the top 25. I think for 3 weeks straight, we kind of kept Coastal in the same spot, like the 17 to 20 range. And we're like, we have to bump them up at this point. You win as many games as they've won over the last. They're 11-1 in the conference. They've won 14-4 at home. They're 24-8 overall. At some point, you have to just give a team credit for winning, regardless of who the opponent is. And so I think that Coastal's showing that they can beat teams without their 2 aces, with Cam Flukie and Hayden Johnson gone. So I'm really impressed with what Coastal's been able to do since they had that rough start.
Yeah, they've just gone out there and figured out how to win games. It hasn't been pretty. They're not winning these games by blowouts. They're not doing it in a pretty fashion. They're going out there and grinding through these, but they're getting wins, and it's hard to discount a team when it's going out there and beating the teams that are in front of them. That's what we ask teams to do all the time. Some big schools are not doing it. Coastal's doing it right now, and without 2 of their aces, they get those guys back. Sky's the limit for this Coastal team. Bethune Cookman goes down to LSU after LSU gets re-ranked in D1 rankings, not in our rankings. We did not consider putting them back in at all. 10-7, and the closer for Bethune comes in and goes 1-2-3 on that LSU lineup. Zach, I don't understand. LSU at home, after coming off of a series win, we're like, okay, they finally have figured it out. This team do not have it figured out.
No, they continue to find new ways to lose. You think they get back in the game and they're, Bethune Cookman rolls out a reliever and it's just like, strike out the side, whatever. The problem that I see is it doesn't feel like there's any fight in this team. It doesn't feel like there's that one guy that's like, okay, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. We need to go pull out a win here. In the past, they always had kind of that central figure. And this year, maybe it's happening in the locker room or in the dugout that you can't see, but I certainly haven't seen it on the field or otherwise. So yeah, it's messy.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how many times I can say it throughout the year, probably the whole season. It feels like that 2024 team where there's just nobody going and doing the big hit when they need it. There's nobody stepping up when they need it. They're winning some ball games, but it doesn't look pretty when they're doing it. And it doesn't look like the team that wants to be out there fighting with each other. And honestly, they just kind of look blah. And that's not what you want to see from a Jay Johnson team. Pitching hasn't been great. They haven't had great hitting. Usually they have one side of the ball that's just top 5 in all statistics. You're like, okay, I get it. They don't have either of that. They're not in the top 25 really in anything right now. But They win on weekends, I guess, in SEC play. They're 500, but I just
like,
don't
if
see
you look at the
top 25.
metrics, they're 75 in RPI, and you look at their quad 4, they're 11-5. Like, you have 5 losses against quad 4 teams. That's not helping you at the end of the year by any stretch of the meaning. So.
No. And their RPI, I don't see any way that they can get to a hosting unless they go on some ridiculous tear here through the rest of SEC play. But, to each their own. Whoever looks at that and says that they're a ranked team, to me, that is not a ranked baseball team. USC at UCSB, tough one here. They dropped that one 1-5. I want to jump to the Kansas-Nebraska game, though. Kansas goes down to Nebraska, a red-hot Nebraska team. Tyler, this Nebraska team's been on fire. They've had pitching. They've had hitting. Kansas is another team that's been hot, who's now number 2 in the Big 12 and hosts UCF this weekend. They go down there and beat this very good Nebraska team 5-3. That's a big win for Kansas on the road, especially for RPI.
Yeah, and honestly, I completely forgot that these two are in separate conferences because I thought
they were in
both
the same
Big
conference
12.
for so long.
Yeah, I'm so used to that. But yeah, like Nebraska, this game was really, really tight until I think it was like the 6th or 7th inning, where Kansas got opportunities to score 2 runs in back-to-back innings and kind of just took it away. I understand. I've seen the video of the Nebraska skipper getting tossed. I think it was a strike personally, but that's each their own. But I think you look at it with Kansas, like you get 2 pretty big performances from Brady Bollinger and I'm going to mispronounce this name, Mungarieta. I think that's probably the closest I'm going to get to doing that properly. But they've been putting together really, really good stretches over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, they swept Utah with incredible offense, hitting 4 home runs to walk them off on that Friday game. It's been really impressive what they've been able to do. And like Nebraska didn't put together a terrible performance either. The only problem was, you look at it at the end of the day, I believe it was like 20 left on base from both teams combined. It was just really stellar pitching from both sides. At the end of the day, you just got to tip your cap to Kansas. They came out, they took that game from them, and that's huge for them. That really helps their boosting to see if they could try to maybe push for like a hosting bid. Not going to rule it out. I think it's too early in the season to kind of rule that kind of stuff out. But this Kansas team's going to be a dangerous 2-seed if they're not a host this year.
Yeah, and you're talking about a weekend series here coming up. We'll talk about it more, but they get the number 1 team in UCF. Like, this could boost their whole season. Like, going on the road, beating Nebraska, and then hosting the number 1 team in your conference. There's lots of things that could happen the right way for Kansas. They seem to be getting hot at the right time. Charlotte at UNC. Charlotte loses this one 4-8. UNC pulls off the victory. UAB 3 at Mississippi State 5. They get back on the winning train. I do want to jump to this one here. Jacksonville State 15, Auburn 4. What is going? Wow. I mean, Jared, this Jacksonville State team's good, and they're beating good teams in the midweeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a team where we're like, they don't have much to kind of hang their hat on in terms of like big key wins. They go and beat an Auburn team.
Now they got another one. Like, they threw one on the board on us.
Yeah. RPI's at 27th now. I think they had an early series loss to Cincinnati, so that was kind of the big team they probably could have beat early on, and they couldn't pull that one off either. But now they've won 4 straight. They're 16-4 at home. They're 12-0 in conference. They're 28-6 overall. Like, this is a top 25 team to me, and I'm almost kind of upset that we didn't put them in the top 25 for this last vote, because they've been doing everything that you could ask for from a top 25 team. So offense is clicking for them. Pitching staff has looked really good. Eli Pillsbury, 1.99 ERA on the season and 8 starts. Just absolutely dominating. 53 strikeouts in 45 innings. This team looks good.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, we didn't know what Alabama was, and they barely lost that game. They were a couple outs away from beating Alabama, and we're like, we didn't know what that Alabama team was, so we didn't really credit it as a good loss. And now you look back and go, man, that was a team that was heating up in an Alabama team, and Jacksonville State took them to the wire. And now they go out and beat Auburn at Auburn. I'm starting to like this team. They're getting closer and closer to my top 25, depending on what they do this weekend. Another team is getting closer and closer. Texas A&M 8 at Texas State 9. Zach, Texas State Bobcats, man, they got to be just pumped. They've been playing really good baseball, hitting the long ball. They're getting enough pitching. I won't say it's been pitching, but they've been getting a lot of hitting.
Yeah, I mean, last Tuesday when they played Texas, they came into the game. I think they'd hit 34 home runs in 7 games. Like, they've been on an absolute tear. Chase Mora just recently passed career home runs past Paul Goldschmidt.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been a launching pad down in San Marcos, or Slam Marcos, sorry. But yeah, this is the bug for A&M is they have no depth at pitching. I counted. They've used 7 total pitchers out of the pen in SEC play. They've used 10 overall, and one of those 10 is injured. If their starters aren't getting it done, they have no back end depth. And yes, they've got the best offense out there, but there's only so many times that you can slug your way past a team. And when you run into a Texas State, like they had enough pitching, to your point. It was their night.
Yeah, and it really feels like A&M's going to have to find some bigger bullpen pieces, because at some point they're going to have to play 4 games, whether it's a regional. I mean, the only way they don't is if they sweep, and then they get to the World Series. Like, otherwise, it's like, man, there's going to be a time when they're going to have better arms there late, and they don't have them right now. It feels like they reach into the bullpen, pull somebody out, and it's just not enough right now. Like, they got to figure out somebody that's going to go out there and succeed for them. And, I'm fine with that. Tuesdays is a good time for that. Get out there, get some pressure times for these guys against some teams that you should be able to beat, maybe give them some opportunities to be successful. They haven't done it yet, and we're going to have to see. Every year, though, at some point, somebody steps up for these teams, and you're like, I did not see that bullpen arm stepping up and being this good. Texas A&M needs to find one. Louisville at Kentucky, Tyler. Louisville drops another game. It really feels like Louisville's season is hanging in the balance, if not already tipped the scales the wrong direction. Kentucky wins this one 4-2, and where Louisville offense feels like it could go off for 20 runs at any time, but then they drop a stinker like 2 runs at Kentucky.
I think the best way to describe this is we look at what just happened at Duke this past weekend. Ethan Everly struck out 15 and 5 and 2/3 by Jared, and they lost. Like it's kind of an interesting scenario where you're kind of looking at it as like, okay, this team knows they can score runs. They're very potent. They have one of the better offenses at the ACC, but at the moment, pitching's just not really there. I'll give him credit where credit is due. Tage Davis hit a ball like 50 feet over the scoreboard in right field, which it was a pitch at his basically his shoulders, like 89 on the outer half, and I just sat there. My jaw was just like, it's incredible he was able to do, but the pitching staff just really hasn't been there all year, unfortunately. And that was kind of the case again this time. They kind of faltered late. Gave up 3 runs in the 6th inning to Kentucky for that, and they left 12 runners on base. It's a tough pill to swallow if you're Louisville. And you kind of look at this, it's like we ranked them in the top 25 at the beginning of the year.
I think they're like 15 for us to start.
Yeah, they're coming off an Omaha appearance, but now you're kind of looking at it's like, are we going to make it to the postseason play this year?
I don't think they do. Look at their schedule. I mean, it's brutal. There's no cheap wins out there.
No,
so there really isn't. I
think
does
they're not going to get easier.
I hate to say it. I feel like this is a team that kind of drudges their way into Charlotte and has to do a pretty daunting task of not only potentially having to win the whole tournament, or at least getting to the semis with, incredible wins throughout that run. Unfortunately,
something that we haven't seen in the ACC tournament in a long time too is a team ranked higher than 8th in ACC play make it through this thing and win it. Like, it's now, I know that the format has changed. It used to be pool play with the weird things. It's a little bit more in favor, but it's not any more easy to go through that thing and have to win that thing if you're not a top 8 seed. So
yeah,
it's going to be
I would definitely wager they would have been better off if pool play was still a thing.
I would agree, because they would have had a good opportunity to get to the semifinal at that point. And then at that point, I mean, everybody's a little low on pitching once you get through those conference tournaments, and they've shown that they can hit off of anybody now. But again, 2 runs, just not enough for them, and the pitching wasn't enough either. Missouri State, a team we just ranked in the top 25, goes down to Mizzou and loses 2-5. Zach, this is a different Missouri team. Kirk Jackson has this team believing in themselves. They show up every single day. It seems like they're in every single ball game. That even the ones that they've been losing, they've been blown out maybe once in a weekend, but the other 2 games have been tight, and then they've been out there and they've gone and won 3 SEC games already.
Yeah, I think this weekend is big for them. They've already equaled their total wins from last year in conference, and they have South Carolina this weekend. And I saw South Carolina up close last weekend. They've got some real pitching on their staff, but their hitting has been questionable. But yeah, Missouri's a much more improved team than I would have thought they would have been. Like I was very, very low on them, considering when you look at the pitching they were returning and lack thereof, it looked like a huge question mark, but they just continue to kind of find their way into games and battle it out. So props to Kirk for sure.
Yeah, I really like what he's doing. I think it's crazy that he's been able to go down there and win some baseball games now. He's got these guys really believing. It's an older team too, so you know that if they got going, that they could possibly keep it going because this team is very calm and poetic. They just show up, do the right things, and they've been winning baseball games. And I think that they could go take the series this weekend from South Carolina and put themselves in a conversation where they could be competing to try to get in. I don't think that they're going to get in. I don't think they're that team. But if they got to 13 wins, it'd be hard to keep them out with everything that they've done so far. Even their non-conference, they crushed. They were really good in the non-conference. So if they can figure out a way to go get more SEC wins, I'll be happy for that one to see him get there. So,
yeah.
ECU beats Duke at home. Another win for ECU. Tyler, that's 5 straight wins for ECU. They seem to be going the right direction. Now they get Tulane this weekend. Can they kind of make this run in the American and be the team that a lot of people thought was maybe one of those outside top 25 American teams?
I want to say they definitely can. They got really, really good pitching the other night. I'll give them credit where credit is due. Ryan Towers, I know one of our commenters had mentioned that he had 5 2/3 no-hit innings, which was a very weird line, admittedly. It was like 2 runs with 0 earned, 0 hits, 3 walks, and 5 Ks. I don't know if I've seen a pitching line like that in a very long time. But at the end of the day, they put together timely hitting. They scored 2 in the first and the third, scored 3 in the fifth. And when the wheels kind of started falling apart in the 6th inning, they were able to mitigate the threat from Duke. And then they were able to get to Sean Jenkins in the bullpen, who's been lights out for them this year. I remember seeing him week 2 against UNC, and he was virtually untouchable with the slider that he has. He's completely turned into a monster for them. And firm reminder that he should have graduated high school last summer. So realistically, like ECU, I think is set up to do pretty well down the stretch here. Tulane, I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue. Admittedly, going to Tulane is not the easiest trip to make. However, they're going to get Gavin Van Kempen back later in the month, which I think Spencer had just mentioned about that.
Yeah, some point of the season late.
So, hey, at this point, if you're ECU, I think you're set up pretty well for the end of the season and could potentially make a run to be kind of like a 2 seed somewhere and be a pretty dangerous team to kind of face off against.
Yeah,
and they get Wichita State and South Florida both at home, which will be big.
Yeah, huge for them. And they've been playing better baseball ever since the UTSA series loss where they won that opener, and you're like, okay, this is the team. Then that no Saturday, Sunday starters kind of came back and got them in those 2 games against UTSA, who can really hit. If they find their way back, they get Van Kampen back, like all of a sudden this team turns into a kind of a dangerous 2-3 seed where you don't really want to have them in your regional because we know that they can hit. We know eventually that they were going to figure that side of it out. If Norby goes on Fridays and gives you that opportunity, they turn into a dangerous 2-3 seed. So like the direction that ECU is heading. Team that I thought was heading in a better direction and then lost to Abilene Christian. TCU won, Abilene Christian 4. Zach, the lack of offense has just got to be astounding at this point. Like it feels like TCU could be a coin flip every single game, whether their offense is going to put up 20 or they're going to put up 1.
Yeah, again, this is almost like an LSU squad in which you don't know what you're going to get every game, right? Like you get a great pitching performance, but no offense. You get good offense, but no pitching. They're just not consistent, it's very strange to me. Obviously injuries have hampered them throughout the year, but it just feels like at certain times it kind of hit a wall and it's like, oh, this is not who we are. And I keep talking about them as like, this is a team that you're not going to want to face potentially come postseason time, but like they still have a lot of work to do, in my opinion. Like they still got to put things together because they're 7-5 in the Big 12, and they don't have a lot of teams in front of them that are like, oh yeah, that's a quality win outside that last series against West Virginia. So in my opinion, I've seen them as high as a 2 seed in a regional. I'm like, I wouldn't put them as a 2 seed. So they got some work to do.
To be a 2 seed, they're going to have to go on a winning streak here. They're going to have to win some games. They're going to have to win some midweeks. I think that they still can do it. They still have an opportunity to get healthy.
For sure.
Tommy Laporte comes back. All of a sudden, this team's a different kind of team because he's obviously not going to jump into that Friday role right away probably. So getting him at some point in the weekend, though, would make a big difference for this team. They're also getting, older. Some of these guys that weren't going to get at-bats are getting opportunities. I think that they're going to continue to get better, but, I mean, they just can't catch a break. They keep getting injury after injury. something keeps happening. Minor things like guys miss 2-3 games, and all of a sudden they find themselves at 7-5 in conference play, and just on the backside here of being able to make this tournament. Like, they got to figure it out. It's a time to make that step up right now, and they got to do it. UNCW 4 at North Carolina State 7. Good win for North Carolina State. I just wanted to mention that. I do think it's a big win for NC State. They seem to like they've kind of righted their ship, and they could be possibly making that turn for the rest of their season here in ACC play. Now, we know that they played a murderous first half of ACC play. That was not fun for anyone. They kind of have a softer, not easy, softer backside here of the ACC. I like where they're going, and if they can get healthy, they're another team that when they're right, they're one of the more dangerous teams in the country as well. JMU 8 at Virginia 7. Tyler, Virginia is seemingly going the wrong direction the last 3 weeks. They kind of have lost it a little bit. They had the great mojo going. They kind of have lost that.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I know they've definitely messed around with the pitching plan with Kyle Johnson coming back. They had Sikowski, who went he was stellar. 4 innings, a shutout ball, 8 Ks, 2 hits. But then after that, it just felt like the wheels really fell off for them. Giving up a 3 spot, a 4 spot, and obviously the game winning run in the 10th inning. The bullpen does have some question marks for me. The offense, they performed fine. You put up 7 runs. Most of the times you'll expect that to give you enough to win the game, but the pitching definitely was the one that kind of faltered there late for them. Kind of looking at it, the biggest issue, Lucas Hartman, I think teams are finally figuring him out a little bit. I believe this was maybe his 20th appearance this year, because his arm is made of rubber.
They just throw him every other game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous what they've been able to do. But this is he's one of the guys that you look at previous years. Pollard has had some of these guys who'll just throw out there at random. Hartman's that guy this year.
Yeah, so, Chuck Bielenson going out there throwing every single game, basically, feels the same.
Give me more innings. Where's my innings? But yeah, it's definitely a bit of an issue kind of looking at it now. I do believe Virginia is still uber talented. It's just obviously the pitching does not back up the offense. And I would like to see that kind of writing itself here as we get deeper in the ACC play. But I still think you kind of look at it. This is a big win for JMU. I'm not particularly familiar with how many ranked wins they have, especially when you're looking at a top 10 team like Virginia, if I remember correctly, if not top 15. So if you're James Madison, this is definitely one of the biggest wins in recent program history for them, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a good win for them in a tough loss for Virginia, who drops to 24-10 in a losing streak now, 3 straight. The thing for me is I look at the ACC, and most years I'd be like, oh, there's 4 or 5 hosts in there. I can bet there's going to be 3 right now. Georgia Tech, Florida State, North Carolina, probably going to host no matter what happens the rest of the season. They seem like they're going to be getting enough wins. I have concerns that the 4th team in the ACC, I don't know who it's going to be. Could it be Boston College? Could it be Wake Forest at some point? NC State could step up. Miami, those are 2 teams that are 6-6 now. But if they go on a run, Miami's got a pretty easy schedule here the next 3 weeks outside Wake Forest. But if they beat Wake Forest, they get Cal and Stanford. They feel pretty good about themselves to be in that opportunity to be a host. Also, I think we're only looking at 4 ACC teams to host. I think that Miami could be the team that sneaks their way into that. But, Boston College, all credit to them too, 9-6 in conference play. They could be another team. You could see 4 or 5. But for sure, 3 teams in the ACC right now. I'm just worried about those other teams like Virginia. If they don't turn it around quickly, they're not going to be finding themselves as one of those top 16 teams when we come tournament time.
Yeah.
Tough 2 seed. Don't get me wrong. If they drop to a 2 seed, that's a tough 2 seed you don't want. But again, I think that they'd rather be hosting at home. Games going on right now. Texas State is crushing up 10-0 on Stephen F. Austin, so they continue the offense. West Virginia is beating Marshall 10-2. Portland is leading Oregon Ducks 6-5 at home. They were just down and they scored 6. Portland retakes the lead. Portland owns the state of Oregon, apparently, beating both Oregon and Oregon State and just continuing to do so. Later on tonight, we do get UNLV at Arizona State. So for those of you who are sickos and stay up late like me and watch college baseball, we get another great game started tonight.
You get to watch a Golden Spikes winner.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of offense tonight. I can tell you that much right now. I'm excited for it. You know what sparks offense, guys? Being able to see the baseball. That's a big thing. Training and being able to see it and hit it. That's what Visual Edge does. It lets you do this, right? You lift, you hit, you go watch film, but what are you really doing to process the game? How are you figuring out how to process this game faster? At the college level, the speed jump is real. If you're slightly behind on recognizing spin or depth or pitch, you're already way behind. Visual Edge trains this. It trains your cognitive skills that sit underneath performance, pitch recognition, tracking accuracy, reaction time, and decision speed. You begin with the Edge test. It benchmarks you against other players that are at your age and level. You actually see the numbers and know what you need to work on. It tells you the things you need to work on. Yes, Tyler's got the glasses on. I love it. Takes 15 minutes a day. That's one small session on a laptop or a tablet. Anything bigger than your phone works. You can do it at your dorm room. You can do it at home. You can do it on the road, anywhere you are to get that practice in. Listeners of our show can use the code CBSHOW. Get your first month for free 3 glasses, and free shipping. No long-term contract. Cancel at any time. Go to visualedge.com/sign up. Use code CBSHOW. That's visual with a Z. When the game speeds up, train your mind to slow it down. Let's talk about these series, boys. Florida State at Georgia Tech. I know you already alluded to this one, Tyler. This is a top 5 matchup. We've had a few of those the last few weeks, and we get another one. We get the ACC version this week with those two teams. This is power on power, right? Starting pitching for Florida State versus the bats of Georgia Tech. Cannot wait for this one. Can't believe it's a Thursday game. I'll be able to watch that one before I fly out to Kansas. Talk to me about this series. There's lots of potential draft picks and talent and unbelievable skills in this matchup.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the most loaded draft series in the country this weekend, in my opinion. Like, you look at the full Florida State rotation, Mendez, Beard, and Bryson Moore, they're all going to be drafted, I feel like, at this point. But then you also look at Georgia Tech. Jackson Blakely's been one of the better arms in the ACC the past couple weeks. Tate McKee's always been doing well. No, I'm not being paid extra for demonstrations, by the way, Spencer. I wish I was. I just saw that comment because I need my vision to come back. But the biggest thing I'm looking forward to seeing is how the Florida State pitching staff handles the Georgia Tech offense, because they're still one of, if not the best offense in the entire country right now. Just 1 through 9 is diabolically good. Vaughn Lackey has asserted himself into superstar status. It's really just going to be a walking a tightrope, I feel like, for Micah Posey and the starters. If Georgia Tech is able to get the starters out pretty quickly, I kind of do worry a little bit about Florida State's bullpen and their depth a little bit. Obviously, John Abraham's been fantastic. My computer just crashed, I feel like. No, it did not. Okay, we're back.
We still hear you.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I think after John Abraham, he kind of started falling off a little bit with their bullpen depth. But overall, I think if Georgia Tech is able to get these arms out pretty early, it might be a pretty easy series win for them, in my opinion. But it depends on what Florida State's starters are able to do. And I feel like with Mendez and Beard, you're going to get pretty solid starts. I'm interested to see what Bryson Moore does specifically. He was electric this past weekend. I believe ACC pitcher of the week. So yeah, this is again just one of the more exciting series you'll see, both from a college fan base perspective and a draft perspective. So it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, you're talking about an Omaha matchup that we're getting this early in the season, and it's pretty exciting. I cannot wait to see these two teams square off. I do believe both these teams are national seed caliber. I think that's how good both these teams are. Putting them both in top 5 is not shying away from any of the moments of how good other teams have been. These two teams are very, very talented. I do want to see what Florida State's pitching staff can do to this lineup, because it's going to be interesting. But I mean, it's strength on strength. So you're going to see this is what you want to see. If you're a college baseball fan, you want to see strength on strength. We'll tune into this one Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right, Zach, Oklahoma at Vanderbilt. This is an important series for both of these teams. Both of these teams need to go out and find more wins. They both have been struggling in conference play. I will say this, when I look at this overall, you have to figure out something. Vanderbilt is, yes, they're sitting at 6-6. Oklahoma's at 5-7. Neither one of these teams feel like they can drop this series here going into the rest of the second half of SEC play.
No, and Oklahoma needs to find some offense.
4.5
their pitching
runs per
started to
game
get better
SEC.
in the SEC, and all of a sudden their hitting just went kaput. I mean, the metrics for Oklahoma are still decent from an RPI standpoint, but you start looking at their quad 1s and quad 2s, and you're like, this is a team that's going to struggle to find their way into a host, if at all, right? They're locked into a 2 seed pretty much. And Vanderbilt, they've got to find an answer. Like, there was no reason they should have got blasted in that double header in the second game, 12-0 by A&M, but there you have it. Like all of a sudden the pitching questions are back, and it's like, okay, it feels like we were 3 weeks ago, right where we're at now for Vanderbilt. Like, where does Corbin go from here to kind of press the button to say, guys, we got to take that next step? Because if they could go get a win a series, like they're right back into the mix in the middle of the SEC, and everything looks kind of normal. But man, they lose another series, and you're like, okay, you've got Texas coming up soon. Like, where do you go from here?
Yeah, it doesn't get easier for Vanderbilt. And, you know, after this series, they're at the halfway point. If they're at a losing record at this point and top 100 RPI, that's not good. I mean, they could be a team that doesn't get to that 13 wins and doesn't get in the tournament. That's how fine this line is right now.
Yeah.
Same with Oklahoma. They could be right on that buzz too. Like, yes, if they win this series, they're right back in that number 2 seed talk. But if they lose this series or get swept, all of a sudden they'd be 5-10 in conference or 6-9 in conference. That is not a good enough look for this team that needs to be much, much better. But I think that this is a huge series starting on Thursday night for both these teams. You already mentioned South Carolina at Missouri. I'm excited for this one. I think Missouri could really take care of business. But I do love the way that South Carolina has been playing baseball and pitching. Monty Lee taking over this program as an interim right now has done a terrific job of getting these guys fired up. It feels like both of these guys are coaching for opportunities. Like, I love Kirk Jackson. I want him to stay at Missouri. He needs to start winning some baseball games. It'd be a good series for them to go win at home and prove that they can go win these baseball games. Same on the flip side, if Monty Lee can start winning some series on the road or winning some series, big win already at Texas or at home against Texas last weekend, be big for them to be able to take a series.
My question about Lee is, what happens if this guy starts putting together and stacking some wins in the SEC? All of a sudden, all the diehards are going to be like, is Lee
Honestly,
our guy?
I thought he was going to get hired 3 years ago. I thought he was going to get the job 3 years ago, and when he didn't, I was like, okay, maybe this is like coach in waiting or coach in training. If he goes out and somehow gets South Carolina 13 wins or something in SEC play, you'd have to offer him the job. That's how I would look at it. Like,
yeah,
who else has gotten you 13 wins in the last 3 seasons? Nobody. Like, figure it out. Like, that's what you have to do is win baseball games. If you can get these guys to believe, especially with all the injuries they've had, it'd be incredible if they made a run here. So,
for sure.
Big storybook for both these teams, I think, coming up this weekend in South Carolina and Missouri starting on Thursday. All right, Zach, Texas at Texas A&M. Massive series, not just rivalry, huge for SEC play also. I can't this one's one of those marquee series matchups where you go, this is why we wanted these teams in the SEC. This is why now that we have Texas in the SEC, this is kind of series we wanted. Texas A&M 7-5 is at home here. Texas 9-3 after dropping one last week and has dropped down to second place. Both these teams are top 5 in SEC. Talk to me about this. Great offense versus great pitching. Another power versus power.
Yeah. I mean, it's elite pitching versus elite offense. If you look at all the offensive categories, it's A&M basically in the SEC, and you look at pitching, it's all Texas. If it gets into a shootout, I like Texas A&M, especially being at home. We saw last year was a sweep by Texas, but they were all one-run games.
Yeah.
The thing I keep going back to is Texas A&M starting pitching, and I think I mentioned this in our chat earlier today. Like, you look at their SEC numbers, and they're plaintively bad. Then you look at their bullpen depth, and you're like, wait, who's pitching for these guys? And then the big X factor that could play a huge part in all this is the weather. Sunday looks like it may not be able to get a game in because of rain. Saturday has rain, so if they have to shorten it up or do a double header, and things get wonky real fast there. And we saw that A&M was able to pull it a doubleheader out on what was a Friday, I guess, against Vanderbilt. But hey, I mean, I like Texas depth better at pitching in that aspect. So it seems like there's a lot of variables going into this game that you normally wouldn't expect.
I was pretty shocked that they didn't try to move the series up to the Thursday after seeing all the weather that's supposed to be coming in late in the weekend and late Saturday. Because even getting a double hitter in on Saturday may not be possible if that weather hits early enough. So, because there's talk about them moving that Saturday game up. They haven't said anything yet, but there's talks about it because trying to get the games in. Big importance here. So, but I love this series between these two. Another power on power season series. Let's talk about another one, Tyler. Florida at Georgia. Like, this is another one. Florida starting pitching versus Georgia's offense. Now, Georgia has probably been the second hottest team in the country outside of UCLA. This Georgia team continues to prove itself. But a big series here at home, and Florida kind of needs this as well, where they sit in SEC play currently. Sitting at 7-5, they feel okay about themselves, but they got to go out there and win more series. Like, they got to stack up some serious wins here. This one would be huge against their rival Georgia.
Yeah, in Florida, like you mentioned, has been pretty wonky this year. I understand, obviously, They're 25-9. Like that in and of itself is a good record. They're 17-6 at home, 7-3 on the road, which is impressive. But then you look at the series that they've won and lost. Lose the series at home to High Point. That was obviously the biggest blemish on their resume so far. High Point is still a very good team. I have a lot of faith in Joey Hammond and that crew. But if you're Florida, you look at that series and you go, okay, what's going on here? Obviously, they sweep South Carolina. Paul Maneri still head coach. Look at it again, night and day difference from Monty Lee behind the stable now. Yeah. But then they get swept by Alabama. Then they go and sweep Arkansas, and then they lose 2-3 to Ole Miss. So it's interesting how they've kind of looked night and day basically every other weekend. But Georgia, to your point, has won 8 in a row. They just went to Starkville and swept Mississippi State, who admittedly was one of the best teams in the country, and still is, in my opinion. I think they just ran into a really, really hot Georgia team. And Georgia, for their own sake, I understand their RPI is only 22. They've only lost like 2 games in quad 1 and quad 2 this year. And they're 18-1 in quad 4 games. They're really, really impressive. So you really just got to give it a hat tip to Georgia. Trey Phelps, Wes Johnson, that whole crew has basically just turned around a program that it kind of was a little dead a couple years ago, but now this is a legitimate powerhouse in the SEC. So interested to see what Florida can do. Just looking at their previous night and day weekend schedules, maybe they sweep this weekend for all we know. Like they're due for it, but I think Georgia is just too good and too hot of a team to win the series. Maybe you take one.
Yeah, this feels like a split of some sort, right? Like I could see it going 2-1 either way. I don't see either team really sweeping. I'd be kind of shocked if either one of these teams sweeps, honestly. I like both these teams here, but I do think that Georgia has the edge, especially at home in that series. LSU at Ole Miss, Zach. This is huge for Ole Miss season. Like, yes, they're still in our top 25 while we don't have LSU there. LSU is 6-6 in conference. Ole Miss is 5-7. They got to win these series. These are the kind of marquee series at home where you have to go out there and win these things, figure out a way to win it. Now, they got to take at least 2, but 3 would be really nice to get back over 500 in SEC play before the second half here.
Yeah, and one thing on the Florida team, they moved the rotation around. So King's going game 1, which I think is important for them. But yeah, Ole Miss, they have to have this series, right? It's at Swayze. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. And same token, like we talked about, LSU needs this series in a bad way, especially a big road series win. So it feels like this is one where you kind of have to go all out on both sides. I know Ole Miss has been messing around when tinkering with their lineup as well and their pitching, but I just, you don't know what you're going to get with LSU. It's so hard to predict them from game to game. So
it's really going to be, can LSU put together a whole weekend? We've seen Ole Miss. I believe Ole Miss is a good team. I've seen them. The eye test tells me they're a very good baseball team.
Yeah.
They got swept by a Mississippi State team who's very, very good at baseball. So that one you kind of have to throw out the window, especially for a rivalry series. And then they go beat Florida last weekend on the road. Like, this feels like that series that they need to win to kind of say, hey, we are this top 25 team. We are a team that there's been that conversation for hosting at some point. Whereas if they lose this series to LSU, all of a sudden they're sitting at 6-9 in conference, and then they got to go, 7. They got to go 7-5 down the stretch, or 7-8 down the stretch. I mean, it doesn't get easier for this Ole Miss team. So I think that this is the one that they have to win. Same as LSU, though, being at 6-6 in conference, being on the fringe of top 25. They've got to figure out a way to win these kind of series, especially on the road. So it's a big one. I mean, these SEC series are no joke. So
and Ole Miss's schedule the rest of the way out is quite arduous as well. Like if they drop this one and they drop the Tennessee one, I don't know where their wins are coming from. So
no. Yeah, it gets real tougher down the stretch. It does not get any easier for them. LSU is not an easy schedule either. So, but it's easier than what Ole Miss has in front of them. Tyler, Southern Miss is taking on Louisiana. A big series for them as they are already 4 games back at Coastal. They got to find some series sweeps. This is what you have to do. Good teams win. Great teams get series sweeps. We saw this last year with Troy, where they won a ton every weekend series, didn't get into the tournament. Southern Miss, while they are better non-conference and they're going to get in most likely, they have not done a sweep yet on these weekend series in Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of wasted a lot of their bullets early, which deservedly so. They had a really tough out of conference schedule. UCS beat and obviously going to Round Rock, getting Louisiana Tech at Louisiana Tech, who they're no slouch there. I think their RPI is around 100. But the biggest thing you mentioned, they haven't swept the series. Arkansas State, they lost 2 of 3. Against Troy, won a 2 of 3. Appalachia State, 2 of 3. Old Dominion, 2 of 3. So you look at it and you're looking at like, okay, where do these sweeps start coming from? Well, the season doesn't really get easier from here. Obviously, Louisiana, granted, they've not been great the past month. They haven't won a series in the Sun Belt since opening weekend against South Alabama, and they're coming off a tough series loss to James Madison. Obviously, we all know what happened up there in Virginia with Matt Deeks wanting to fight the entire James Madison coaching staff.
And he's out for the 2 games.
Yes,
He's going to miss 2 games. So
it's going to be interesting. And Louisiana's schedule does not get any easier as well. You look at it, obviously they host Southern Miss this weekend, but then you go to Troy and then you go to Arkansas State as well. And those are 2 top 50 RPI teams. So I think if there's a chance for Southern Miss to do anything, I think it's this weekend. If they are able to sweep Louisiana, I think you're back in the conversation of, hey, what does this Southern Miss team look like? If they happen to close the gap to the Coastal Carolina this weekend, perfect. Because obviously Coastal goes to, I believe, Arkansas State, who again
goes to Arkansas State. Yep, that's what I was going to ask you next.
They've been good, so
that's a big one. Yeah, I mean the Red Wolves are sitting here at 6-6 in conference, but they've taken series. They've beaten Arkansas. They've beat good teams. Do you think that this is a series that Coastal finally drops a series? Like, is this a tough one? I mean, I know we have it in our pick 'em, and I don't want you to have to give away your pick here, but I think that this is a really important series for both these teams.
It is. It definitely is. I feel like if you're Coastal Carolina, you look at this and you go, hey, we win this series, we get to expand our lead further in the Sun Belt and kind of keep our grasp on it, while also understanding you got Ryan Lynch back, who missed the start of the season. You're inching closer to Flukie and Johnson coming back, which is crucial for them because, again, we've talked about it. They have desperately needed these arms to kind of step up, and they have. Ross Norman has been great. You look at Cade Bosch, the freshman, with a really good changeup. Jackson Appleman threw 3 shutout, no-hit innings against Wake Forest the other day to kind of keep them help them in Durham. So, hey, you look at it, you're like, this is our chance to get a stronghold again on the Sun Belt. But again, you look at Southern Miss and like, this is our chance to kind of, sneak in and start clawing back into the conversation, which we thought this was their league this year. So
and,
I'm excited to see what
they have to have a series win or even a sweep because they go to Texas State, or no, I'm sorry, they host Texas State next weekend. Yeah. So like they could not just catch up to Liberty, they could leapfrog into second place in the Sun Belt and really start putting the pressure on Coastal.
It's a tight one. I'm with you guys. I think that the Sun Belt's heating up at the right time, but it feels like one of those conferences, kind of like the American, where any team can win any weekend. Like that's the kind of conference we're sitting in right now, where there's a lot of really good teams. I don't know if there's any great team necessarily right now in Sun Belt play. Like at one time, I thought Southern Miss was a great team at the beginning of the season, preseason. Like Coastal was rated as that great team. Somebody's going to have to step up and be that great team. And I'm really excited for it as we get through more of this. But again, if they get Johnson and Flukie back, that makes a huge difference. And all those guys that have gotten innings all season, all of a sudden they become bullpen pieces that you really, really like, having the guys that can go out there and give you a few innings of great ball. So I like where they're heading. I just wonder if Southern Miss can start to tighten up that gap there a little bit. Speaking of the gap here, UCF and Kansas 1-2, Zach, sitting in conference play, sitting at number 1 and 2 in the Big 12. I will be there live for all 3 games. Very excited for this series. Flying down to Lawrence Friday morning. Pumped to be down there. Tell me about this one, because now we're going, okay, UCF is missing their Friday night starter. He's okay. We talked about it on the Monday show. He got home. He's not gonna pitch at all in this weekend, but we don't know when he'll be back. But now they got to shift things a little bit, and they're going up into an offense that has been lights out in Kansas.
Well, not just the offense for Kansas. I think the atmosphere they've created, Hoagland, has been insane. I mean, you've seen the pictures and videos of the student section, and it's like the fog has taken over at Hoagland. It's been awesome to see. So, yeah, this feels a little bit trappy for UCF, and that seems weird to say because it's 1-2 in the conference, but this feels like a weekend where Kansas kind of puts their mark and says, regardless of injury, like we're going to go out and make a statement and really put their foot in the ground. So,
yeah, I'm really interested to see what the series brings. I mean, I've been high on UCF all year, and I've been, throwing them out and saying, hey, this is a really good baseball team, and they've continued to perform. I'm going to say it live I actually picked Kansas here in this one. I think that Kansas finds a way to take this series. I think that's a really tight series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think UCF being down their Friday night guy and in Kansas, the way they've been playing at home right now, Kansas on a 7-game win streak, and then just going and beating Nebraska. Like, I feel like this is Kansas's to lose. And then at that point, depending on how many they win, one of these teams could be still sitting in first place. If UCF finds a way to sweep, all of a sudden they're in this huge lead. If Kansas finds a way to sweep, then all of a sudden they're looking down at everybody else in this conference with more games to play. I like it. I think that the Big 12 is just a blast this year. I don't know how much pitching there's going to be, but I'm excited for the hitting. So I'm really excited to go down there and go check this one out. So I'll be down there at Lawrence. Fans, come out and see me. Very, very excited to see you guys. Wake Forest at Miami. This couldn't be a bigger series at this point in the season for both of these teams, Tyler. Like, this feels like it hangs in the balance for both squads. I feel like what we're seeing from Miami lately with that offense again, and then they drop the Sunday game. You're like, why? I think that this Miami team, though, is so good right now and so hot. If they go out and find a way to sweep, all of a sudden you're looking at a team that might creep all the way back up to the top of ACC standings.
Yeah, and they've got one of the hottest hitters in Derek Williams in the country right now. He's hitting over 400 right now. I'm speaking to Canes Cat Heat 305 here when I say this, but this is definitely one of the series that they have to come in and take 2 or 3, if not sweep, because Wake Forest has been topsy-turvy this year. Obviously saw them when Florida State just held them to 3 hits across 2 games, and then all of a sudden it was Wake Forest kind of figured it out a little bit, but they're still struggling. Blake Morningstar still hasn't quite figured it out yet. Chris Lavonis is your biggest threat, obviously. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The bullpen has some upside. You look at Evan Jones, who's been one of the best freshmen in the country this year. Marcelo Harsh is finding his big leverage role now, which is fantastic for Wake Forest. But the offense has been so inconsistent. It's been like Javar Williams at the top has been good. Cade Lewis has been off and on. Dalton Wentz has kind of been off and on a little bit. The bottom of the order is kind of trying to figure itself out a little bit. JD Stein had a big series against Pitt this past weekend. But if you're in Miami, you look at this and you go, hey, this is our chance to really claw up the standings and help us out here. You mentioned earlier you could sneak in, be a potential host at the end of the year. I can see it with Miami because looking at the rest of their schedule, they go to Stanford after this, which Stanford's under 500. They get Cal at home too. I'd say the two biggest series to watch out for is when they travel to NC State and then travel to Florida State, final week in ACC play. But really, they have an easy schedule from here on out. You look at this series and say, hey, win this. I think there's a legitimate chance that they're a host at the end of the year.
Yeah, it feels like they could put themselves in that host conversation and, at some point, maybe even get to that national seed with how well they've been playing. I mean, the record says that they could be there at the end of the season, and the teams that they have coming up, especially if they were to end up winning the series either against North Carolina State or Florida State, they'd feel really good about their chances of hosting. And if they took it from both those teams, they'd feel really good about their chances of national seed. I like where this Miami team's going. I think the offense is on fire. I just am excited to see what happens this weekend because it feels like the weekend we're going to know more about both these teams. I've had huge question marks on both of these teams, and we're going to know more after this weekend. So I know we're running low on time.
Forest with a 3-9 quad 1 record is bad. Like, they need wins badly against Miami.
Bad. Yeah, Wake Forest has to figure out how to find some wins. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't moved Lamonis to that Friday night role with how bad Morningstar's been struggling, and trying to maybe give him a reset because you just know that he wants to perform. It's not like Blake's not trying his hardest. He's just going out there and not having the stuff stick. He's not throwing enough strikes, and then he has to throw fastballs and they get hit a long ways. Like, it's just got to be so frustrating when you've been a star for so many years and then all of a sudden you just come out and you're struggling every Friday. So big series. I cannot wait for this one. I know we're running low on time. I'm going to rattle off 3 SEC series for you, Zach, and then I want you to tell me what's the most important for each team. Tennessee at Mississippi State, Kentucky at Auburn, and Arkansas at Alabama. For me, it's Arkansas has to figure out a way to win at Alabama. And flip side of that is if Alabama takes that series, Arkansas finds himself in real bad trouble, but Alabama feels really good about themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's put themselves in a really good position. And then if Arkansas loses 2 of 3, like danger zone, like they are in bad shape. Like they might not make the tournament bad situation. And then for Auburn, you mentioned them against Kentucky. This feels like a get right weekend for them. They've had a little skid here. This feels like a weekend that they could get back on the ropes and say, okay, yeah, we're back. So the one for me is Mississippi State. They cannot afford to lose this series. They have to have 2 wins no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend to see what that looks like. Tennessee's had so much heartbreak. I mean, just heartbreak after heartbreak.
It doesn't feel like a very easy series for them to have to get right, and all of a sudden it's like they're taking on Mississippi State. It's like that's not the weekend you want to do it. This is not the one after dropping the weekend against LSU when you had a chance. It is not the one. Tyler, I'm going to rattle off 3 ACC series. I want you to do the same thing here for me. Virginia Tech at Boston College, Virginia at Notre Dame, and UNC at Clemson. This could be the end of Clemson's season, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like not only for Clemson, but Notre Dame as well. Notre Dame's lost 7 in a row. They got swept at NC State, got swept at home by UNC. They just lost today, actually, as well to Michigan State. Yeah. And their schedule does not get any easier after this. I believe they go to Florida State. They get BC at home as well. Then it kind of levels out, but the next 3 weeks are make or break for Notre Dame. I feel like if you don't come out of this with a good record or even above 500, your season's over, essentially, because they don't have a good out of the conference schedule, unfortunately. And their RPI, if I remember correctly, is somewhere in the 49 to 55 range.
Climbing.
So, you know, you kind of look at that and you go, hey, this is the time to kind of go. And with Clemson, I don't know what the heck to think of those guys right now, right? Because like UNC has been playing pretty well the past couple weeks. They took down a really tough BC team this past weekend. And as much as that offense has been inconsistent, the Clemson pitching staff's been dreadful in ACC play. I don't like Clemson's odds right now. And then you look at what Clemson has moving forward in the next couple of weeks here. Let me pull up their schedule here. They get Virginia in Charlottesville. Louisville, as much as Louisville's been struggling, that's still a tough series to do in Louisville. You get BC, Florida State, and then you get kind of a breather with Virginia Tech. But it's another one where like Clemson really needs to step it up, and it's a make or break weekend. If you don't win this weekend, I'm really worried about where Clemson ends up once you get towards ACC tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if they even have a chance of getting in to the tournament. They're 4-8 right now. If they don't win this weekend series, all of a sudden they're 5-10 in ACC play with not really any easy ones to go, and they'd have to figure out a way to go 11-4. Like, I just don't see it if they don't win this weekend. Like, feels like a must-win weekend. It's not easy. None of these are easy, but against UNC at home, you got to figure out a way. If you're a good team, this is the ones you got to kind of go out and win. And on the other side, looking at that BC series against Virginia Tech, they need to dominate this one. If they go out there and get 3 wins, all of a sudden you're looking at a 12-6 Boston College team in conference, putting themselves in that conversation to be hosting still. I like where BC Birdball is, but they need to go out there and win this series, especially after dropping that one game to UNC when they were ahead the whole game, and then they blew in the third game. Like, they had that series. They got to be able to win a series like this at home against Virginia Tech. So this is a huge one here. Game that you're going to, right, Tyler? UNCW at Campbell. You're going to be there this weekend?
Yes, sir. You're going to go back to my pride and joy, 20 minutes away from home. Good old Bowie's Creek, North Carolina.
It's going to be an exciting one. Can't wait for that one here. We have that one on our pick'em as well. We'll talk about that one on Saturday. Baylor at Cincinnati, kind of a get right for both of these teams. They need to get going. Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Zach, I want to talk about this one just real quick. I know that we're running low on time, but this is huge for both these teams. Oklahoma State has kind of gotten right lately, whereas Kansas State, the offense is there, but they have seemingly not enough pitching lately.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, so surprising. Like the way they started, and all of a sudden they've kind of come right back to life. And where they're sitting at right now, like they've got a chance to make a run in the Big 12. They still got big series ahead of them.
3 straight wins, 21-12 overall. Like, they've put themselves back in there.
For sure. So this is a big weekend for them to kind of continue to prove, hey, like we are who we think we are. And the power hitting's come back for them, which has been big. And they've got enough pitching to get it done, which is Kansas State's big issue right now, is like their pitching has just gone silent. Like they have nothing out there that's been working recently for them. So
Yeah, it feels like Kansas State was so hot offensively earlier that the pitching didn't really matter.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of leveled out a little bit, and that pitching has been coming back to bite them where they're not able to hold on to leads. They had the lead against TCU. They blew that game. Like, they're just losing some games that they felt like they should be in and be winning those games, and they're not right now. Whereas the flip side is Oklahoma State's found enough pitching, and they seem to be getting healthy at the right time because they had some injuries early.
Yeah.
They're getting healthy now at the right time and playing better baseball. So I'm excited to see what happens there. I mean, I know that we all know that it might be a hot seat down there right now for Oklahoma State, and they got to win some baseball games. Holiday's got to find some way to win baseball games, but
for Kansas State,
a huge series.
Yeah, and for Kansas State, it doesn't get any easier. They still have Kansas, West Virginia, Cincinnati, and UCF. Like,
they
need to stack some wins
three of the
now.
top 4 teams. They have the top 3 teams right now in conference left in their schedule, so that ain't easy. ECU at Tulane, we already talked about that one a little bit, and Iowa at USC. Big series here. And then, of course, Nebraska traveling up to Oregon. Massive series for both of those teams. Cannot wait for that one. That one's going to be very, very important. By the way, Oregon still losing to Portland 5-6 in the 6th inning there. Very perplexing there, but Portland has this one. All right, boys. What series are you most looking forward to this weekend, Zach?
The one I'll be at, Texas versus A&M.
Yeah, God,
Ross returns to Bluebell, and it's gonna be wild.
Yeah, that might be the understatement this weekend. I know that we're all traveling this weekend to ball games, and that's one of the best parts about this thing is getting to see all that. Yes, Canes Cat Heat, Georgia Tech at Florida State. We talked about that one as being maybe the best one that none of us are going to be at. Well, actually, Monty's going to be there, and he'll be live on the show as our guest on Saturday morning. So excited for that one, but he'll be at that series. Tyler, what one are you most excited for this weekend?
GT and Georgia Tech and Florida State. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Admittedly, I do get Georgia Tech next week at UNC, so I'm very excited to see this Georgia Tech team in person. Whether or not I will be able to walk down the stairs and make it happen, we'll see. Because again, 10-miler next weekend in Chapel Hill. And if anything, my half marathon experience tells me my feet will fall asleep. However, it's just such a talented weekend in Atlanta, and again, just very jealous of Monty Taylor. Being able to be down there. He'll be on the radio too, which is going to be fascinating. He's done a very good job.
Yeah, for Georgia Tech. Very, very exciting things. I am excited for UCF at Kansas. I think we get some great series here this weekend, boys, that we're going to go check out. I am very, very excited. So many good series. Whatever series you guys want to go to, that are watching, go watch college baseball. It's fantastic. There's so many games this weekend. Go out, catch college baseball. Thanks for joining us again here live on the Wednesday show. We'll be doing this every single Wednesday for the rest of the season. For myself, Tyler, and Zach, thanks for joining us. And Jared. He was here earlier, but he had to bounce out dad duty. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you guys Saturday morning for the live show.